Hey there guys, and welcome back to Alex Invest. Today we're doing a little bit of a different video. We're going to start off by talking about MVMD. We're going to look at their new news release on their chief medical officer, look into a few things there. Then we're going to look at the MVMD chart, see what's going on there. Are we leveling out a bit, right? Then we're going to look at the short interest on MVMDF, and then we're going to look at some of the reasons why it's quite easy to manipulate stocks which are on the TSXV and CSE, but just quickly. And then finally, we're going to look at some of the other stocks that I've been looking to go more heavy into again, outside of MVMD and some of the other stocks that I usually talk about on this channel. So getting right into it. Let's take a look first at the news release from MVMD here. It's basically the appointment of a new chief medical officer, Dr. Azar Rana. And there's really two things that I want to share with you guys here. First of all, Dr. Rana brings the company nearly 2 decades of life science experience in clinical development, pre and post-launch medical affairs, regulatory and commercial strategy, right? And those are kind of the things MVMD needs help with right now. Now that they've kind of gotten their products in order, they know kind of which lanes they're looking to get into. They need that commercial strategy experience, that regulatory experience, etc., to kind of move forward with partnerships and move forward in commercialization of these products, right? And that's really where he's going to be coming in. Now this next kind of line right here, right, we see Dr. Rana has gained experience in development, launch, and life cycle management of novel therapeutics, which is exactly really what MVMD is in right now, right? And novel therapeutics, and they are still developing, yes, but they're moving into this launch phase and life cycle management phase, and that's where Dr. Rana is really going to assist there in order to move them forward. And again, novel therapeutics is exactly what MVMD is working on right now, with ivermectin, selamectin, even cannabis. They're all really therapeutics here, and their novel therapeutics are again the ivectisol, right, selectisol, because they're the first ones really that were able to solubilize these drugs without using any harmful excipients, etc., right? Anyways, leading and collaborating with teams in clinical operations and development, medical affairs, regulatory affairs, quality, and pharmacovigilance. Now, I think this is a great move for MVMD because they need someone, again, to commercialize these products and these novel therapeutics in order to go to market here better, right? They need a kind of a better strategy, and Dr. Rana here is going to help with that, as well as the rest of the team. And we saw kind of the same thing with Mark Gelnaw there, but on the financial side of things, right? So you've got now Dr. Azar Rana on the chief medical side here for commercial strategy, going to market with some of these products and sort of life cycle management there, etc. And on the other side, you've got the financial management there, the numbers, etc. from Mark Gelnaw. So those two, I think, are going to be key kind of advisors here moving forward for MVMD, moving into that commercialization stage, right? Moving into those license agreements, those partnerships that we want to start to see, in the next, let's say, year here, really. Now, something this article doesn't mention as well is that Dr. Rana actually has quite a bit of experience in the cannabis industry as well, and within diabetes and insulin, and those are two things that MVMD is also obviously quite heavily working on. Cannabis more in the near term, and insulin more in a longer term process there, but both are going to be quite useful to MVMD here moving forward again. So great addition in my opinion, and we saw the stock move a bit off of that, but we're not really going to see much movement on these kind of news releases. What we will kind of see a lot of movement on, hopefully, if it's good news, is, and I think it will be, is those partnerships, revenues, etc. Because again, we can't really value MVMD right now, and this is a question that I got as well, is can we value, or can you give us kind of a price target for MVMD? And I can't really, because I don't know what any of their license agreements are going to look like, and I don't know kind of the revenues that we're going to realize in the stock, so or in the company, and because of that, it is a speculative stock. It is hard to value, and we won't know until we kind of see those first little partnerships coming out, and we'll have that with Bangladesh and in the cannabis space there, right? Those are going to be two kind of first revenue streams that we're going to see, and then we'll get a sort of an idea of how those license agreements are going to look in the future. So anyways, now I want to look at the chart for MVMD here. What's been happening lately, right? Obviously, over the last few months, we've had a huge kind of downturn in the stock, but it seems like we're leveling out now. And yes, I do think, part of this is manipulation, but a good chance is on the run up that we had here. A bit of that was manipulation too, right? And then, a lot of the people that bought down here, a lot of the investors that bought down here were able to sell through this at still, a huge kind of gain. But now we're at around this level here, and there's not many investors left looking to sell. There is still some short interest on the stock, but I do think a lot of that has also kind of minimized, especially on the Canadian side. We will see soon though, and I'll show you guys kind of the short interest on the US side and how that really hasn't come down at all. But moving back kind of to the hour chart here, we can see we've started to kind of consolidate around this 0.36-ish level, right? We've got great resistance of 0.35, which is where I said we would see a lot of resistance because of sort of that last capital raise that MVMD did at that 0.35 level, and nobody really is selling below those levels, right? We did get this little dip here, and this is again where I doubled my position right down here, right? And I told you guys that in my last video, my MVMD doubled my position video, right? But anyways, we are seeing some nice consolidation. Likely not a terrible time to buy, but of course, we do kind of have this pattern, which we saw here as well. And so we can always kind of come a dip further down. Again, there is manipulation on this stock, and it is easy to manipulate, small cap Canadian companies on the CSE, on the TSXV, because there's just so little information and such little transparency on everything, right? But from what I see here, I do kind of see us hitting this resistance, and where I'm picking up shares is at around that 0.35 level. Now we could just keep moving up from here. I don't know, but it seems like for the most part here, the downtrend is over. Again, though, anything can happen, especially with these small cap stocks, right? They are risky. Do keep that in mind. Now, knowing this and knowing kind of where we are now, right, I want to show you guys, firstly, the short interest right now on MVMDF. Now we can see it's just continued going up, right? In my last video on MVMD, which was the double down position there, we were at this level here. And I was saying how we haven't come down, right, on any short interest here. But recently we've actually come higher in the short interest. Now, what does that mean potentially for the stock? Well, if there is kind of more manipulation, we could kind of see us come back down more. Especially if we see similar kind of statistics on the Canadian side. But again, for the CSE, we can't find that short interest information. I can't find it. I've asked, if anybody knows about it, but it seems like from the information that I've gathered, that the short interest on MVMD.CN has come down quite a bit, where the short interest on MVMDF has kind of stayed high and actually continued to go up. But again, still not many shares, right, compared to the flow, only 842,000 there. And on the CSE side, again, I'm not really sure of those numbers. If we think of them similar to this, then we could still get a nice short squeeze. If, the percentage of shares are similar on the Canadian side, because there's so many more shares being traded, so much more volume, right, on MVMD.CN, that if we see kind of the same percent wise, then that could mean that we do kind of see somewhat of a squeeze here. Or on the other side, we could see us kind of continue coming down. But from the information that I've heard, it seems that on the Canadian side, there's a lot less shorting going on than there was kind of when we saw this sort of big decrease here coming down here, right? And again, this here. So that's that. Now I did want to give, now instead of looking at the CSE data, I did just kind of want to share with you guys this article here. And it kind of just goes through why the TSXV is potentially failing, or not necessarily failing, but why there's quite a bit of manipulation potentially on the TSXV. Now I know MVMD is on the CSE, but I think that the CSE is actually even to a greater extent. There's more manipulation there than the TSXV for a lot of the reasons they say, right? Transparency in trades is in my opinion, one of the biggest issues, because again, like we just saw, right, there's no information on short interest data really, specifically short interest data for MVMD.cn or for any really CSE stocks. And that's a huge issue because there could be manipulation and no one would ever know, right? Especially us as retail investors, and multiple exchanges, right, etc. all kind of add to that. And we see that here, right? Multiple trading platforms, but that again goes into transparency here, really, right? And we're not going to go through this whole article because it's long, and goes through quite a lot of issues, some of which are definitely somewhat complex, but I just wanted to let you guys know about this article. You can look it up for yourselves, right? And this actually is quite an important one to take note of, the discontinuing price restrictions of short sell orders, because in the past you could only sell a stock short if the price was higher than last different price. So you could only short a stock while it was moving up, right? But they changed that tick test now, and now you can actually short a stock while it's going down, and that kind of adds to the potential manipulation, because before, if a stock was coming down and you couldn't continue to short it, so it would drop further because it's already on kind of a downtrend, right? Moving down, and the last price was higher than the next price, and therefore you couldn't short it. But now you can do that, and that's kind of why we see for MVMD here, these huge kind of drops down, because you can quite easily continue to short on the way down, which kind of increases the downward pressure and increases or decreases the price much quicker, right? And we can see that's clearly what's happening here, or could be a large factor in why we see these big decreases in stock price so quickly, right? Because of that manipulation, because of that tick test there being changed, right? We won't get into dark pool liquidity because I feel like I would need to explain more on dark pools before we get into some of this, but again, you can do your own research here. Take a look at the rest of this article, and there's some good comments as well in here, and this was actually shared to me by a subscriber of mine, so thank you for sharing this. And again, I do appreciate any of you guys at any time sharing information with me, because it always helps me with my research, and I just like talking to you guys because you guys know what you're doing, and it always helps with videos and just getting more information out there, right, to everybody, which is really what this channel is about. Also, this little sum up here at the bottom is great too. Definitely take a look at this when you take a look at the article. Anyways, that is going to do it for what I have to tell you guys about MVMD. So now I just want to look at a few potential stocks I'm looking to get heavier into. Again, Bloom Energy and PowerCell Sweden are two of those. PCEL, right, and Bloom. Now, Bloom 30% year-over-year growth right now. PCEL experiencing something similar, perhaps a little bit quicker. They've both had over 50% drops. PCEL's dropped even more, and they've got great technology. So it depends, again, how you feel about the infrastructure moving forward for hydrogen, right? And this is what I talked about in my last video on plug and F-cell, is if we do kind of see a larger adoption of hydrogen moving forward in the next few years here, then we will kind of see growth in all of these companies move quite quickly, especially in some of the bigger ones like Bloom, like PCEL, like Plug, right? But again, F-cell can easily be in there too, just a little riskier. Anyway, so Bloom and PCEL are two of those. And I actually currently hold no Bloom shares at all. I do hold some PCEL shares, but Bloom I did kind of sell at around that $35 or $38 range there. and so haven't really bought back in yet. Now the other one, and this is the main one really here, is AMC, right? I mean, I originally bought AMC at around that like $3 level, continued buying actually throughout the $9 level and $16 level, and sold most of my shares at around that $50, $58 level. Still own, you know, some shares here, but am looking to increase my position in AMC again soon. Now I am waiting for a bit of consolidation here, you know, because if we take a look at kind of the price here, we can see, you know, we've been mostly dropping, but we have started to see, you know, a bit of a consolidation if we go over to kind of the 1 hour chart, still dropping though. So I have been waiting kind of to see, you know, a little bit of steadiness, and we're starting to see that right around that $30-ish level, right? $31, $32 level. So, you know, I am probably going to buy back in soon. We have seen quite a substantial drop from kind of the highs up here. So yeah, I'll probably still wait a little while longer before really getting back in here heavier. But we've now started to see a bit of a bounce off that $30-ish range, and so that's kind of where I'm looking to potentially buy. Again, I will be waiting another week or so to see where we go from there. And that is going to do it for the video today, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment as always. And other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.